everybody, and welcome to the greatest Warhammer 40,000 podcast that has ever existed, the Large Blast podcast. I'm your host, Stoney, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow host, Matt.
The difference between heresy and treachery is ignorance.
And my fellow hosts, Welshie.
Can you hear the silence of the void?
And we're here to talk to you a little bit today about Warhammer 40,000 and all things 40k. Now, normally, we kick the show off with a little something we called Hobbies Goings On, which is a look into the lives of the hosts, a look into the hosts' hobby lives, where we talk about things that we've been doing Games Workshop-wise. But there is an elephant in the room, Matt, which is that you, on our last episode, told us, if you listeners will remember, that Matt's New Year's Eve resolution last year was to paint 365 models. Now, on the last episode, he would not reveal his model count, and it's been eating me up inside, Matt, to know what your model count has been for this year. So before we get into any hobbies goings on, I need to know, what is your model count for last year? How many did you paint?
I just correct you. It wasn't to paint 365 models. It was to paint a model a day. Are you ready for my number?
So ready.
Okay, drum roll, please. 134 models, which works out as 2.7 models a day. Sorry, wow. one model per 2.7 days.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
that's not bad effort, to be fair. It's not what you promised us,
right.
But it's not a bad effort.
I didn't promise. That was an aim. I painted about 10 more models between our last recording.
He went out and bought himself an epic box set.
No. I actually I've got about 20 infantry models that are nearly done, but I wasn't able to get them done in time. But they're going towards the count for this year, so they're gonna start my year off well.
So this is an ongoing thing, as you said. So you're still going to try to be painting a model for every day.
I found it was quite nice actually to record every time, but actually looking back at the year's end, looking back at a list of all the models you've done and looking back at the beginning of the year, I was like, wow, I can't believe that was this year. I painted that this year. And I don't know. I recommend doing it. Like, do it. It's easy. You just find a piece of paper and you write it down every time you finish a model. And it's quite lethargic.
Well, Instagram and stuff's quite good for that. If you are one of those people that post your models on Instagram, you can be like, oh, I posted this on the 17th of July or whatever. And yeah. And it got 0 likes and someone called me a cunt or whatever happened. So, but anyway, so let's get back on with it. Standard hobby progress. Now we've got that out the way. Sweepstakes are off. Welshie, what have you been up to?
I have returned to the big Acastus night. So the night where I'm doing the Peter Paul Rubens freehand on almost all of the panels of the armour.
Fancy paneling.
Yeah, that's been really nice. Completely different to bashing out a load of models over Christmas. I painted a Lizard Man team for Blood Bowl real quick over Christmas to take home and play with my stepdad, who really enjoyed it, actually. I frequently take home little games like Necromunda and other board games I play. And I think I finally nailed it with this one, something that he genuinely enjoyed playing over the Christmas period.
That it seems to be more and more that Blood Bowl is definitely a good entry-level game if you've got people around you and you kind of want to get them into Games Workshop or something and you don't want to intimidate them with 40k. Yeah. Blood Bowl is a great starting place.
And you can play it with... I think the great thing about Blood Bowl is if you want to take it seriously, it gets more and more and more complex. It's very easy to play a game with the starter set of Blood Bowl. And then if someone gets into it, you start adding in all the other skills. In fact, playing it allows you to add in the skills and it gets more difficult as you play. But just the bog standard Orcs v Humans is a real easy game.
Yeah. Well, it's a great introduction to the idea of having different rules for different people and stuff like that and having a big book that you look through. Yeah. So, it's a good way of fluffing people before you get them into 40k or something. So,
and the balance means it's almost always fun as well. Like obviously I gave a lot of help as we played, but he won the game on a 3-up, 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 go for it, which to score a touchdown in the last turn of the game and win 2-1. So, if that's someone's first experience of a game, it's going to be a good laugh.
Matt, have you been up to anything else except for failing at your own goals that you set for yourself?
I've been I'm back on the well, not really. I'm kind of back on the Grimaldus retinue, the old model, Finecast models, and it's really made me appreciate the Primaris Marines. Games Workshop made an excellent call enlarging the Space Marines. I don't even care about the lore in this instance. Games Workshop, you made a bold choice. You made a big business decision that could have gone wrong, like the Coca-Cola recipe change, but you've made absolutely amazing decision, and you completely pulled it off. The Primaris models are so much better to paint. It's like night and day. And actually, I've been painting the retinue for a few weeks, 4 weeks at least, and it's just a bit painful. I don't know. I just wanted to say that in hobby progress, well done, Games Workshop.
No, I mean, I agree. I definitely agree. And to be honest with you, it's nice to have them a bit bigger than your sort of standard Imperial Guard guy, or have a bit of a height difference with some of these things. They've got this kind of, it's like a forest canopy where the tallest trees are at the top, and that's like your demon princes and stuff like that. And then you've got your Primaris Marines, and then your Imperial Guard, and your standard humans is a bit smaller. So yeah, I like that aspect of it. So yeah, I'm also a fan of the Primaris Marines. I'd like to see all kind of Space Marines, Chaos Marines, all that stuff get a bit of a size increase, to be honest.
Yeah.
What about you, Stoney? How's the Gene Stealer cult? Is it rising?
It is. I've made some pretty good progress. My Gene Stealer cult limo, I've just got to do all the fiddly, annoying bits on it in terms of sanding stuff down and stuff like that. But it's got nearly ready for a coat of primer. I've got my neophytes sorted out. I made those the guys with the Delac gang of bodies, and then the head of the Gaunt Summoner that I cast up, and made different versions of that. And I was going to use those as my Brood Brothers, but then I thought, no, I'll switch them over to neophytes, and I bought some the planetary enforcers from Necromunda, the kind of police guys. The Planetine enforcers, and I gave them all las guns, and then I switched them over to be the Brood Brothers, because I thought, that's kind of more in keeping, like a kind of a sort of Necromunda cartels like size army. That's kind of got the planetary enforcers in their pockets, kind of thing. Nice. I've started making a cool Magus, which is going to be hang on, the model I got for it is called Belladamma Volga, and it's a Age of Sigmar model, and it's the lady riding on a wolf. I think she's some kind of werewolf lady. She's got wolf legs hanging out the bottom of her dress, but she's got this like really exquisite dress, and she's kind of riding side saddle on this wolf. So I thought, it'd be kind of cool.
Hold of the Veet in the Age of Sigmar. She's probably just normal legs.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, maybe it's just very hairy with bad toes. It could be bunions. It's just bunions and leg hair. Yeah. But either way, that's kind of in keeping. They're kind of Gene Stealery legs as well, kind of, or at least can be converted quite easily if you change them claws into Gene Stealery legs, which is quite handy for me. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool? Because she's got this kind of like really exquisite coat on with this big fluffy mane and everything. I thought, that would be like a really cool, like, because one of the things I really want to lead into with my Gene Stealer cult is like having this sort of opulence, like the old school Gene Stealer cult with the limo and all of that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So I did all of that, and so now I've got these squads and everything that I've been working away on, beavering, spending hours of conversion time into milli putting, sculpting, because I want her to be riding on this weird kind of techno experimented Gene Stealer, where Welshie, you very kindly gave me some Gene Stealer bits. So the haunches of it are these kind of Gene Stealer legs with this Gene Stealer carapace, and then it's got these weird kind of little dinosaur arms at the front, which I think I made out of some legs from a Mechanicus guy or something like that. Nice. And like a head like not Starscream, Soundwave from Transformers, like with just one little dot in kind of like a square box kind of thing. So she's riding on that in this kind of big opulent coat sort of thing. But like I downloaded Battlescribe, and I was like, it's time to start list making now. I've got like three things together, and I've made like a Locus and like the Biomagus and some other bits as well. So it's like, it's time to put a list together. And like I totaled it all up, it's still like under 300 points. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake! So the
Welcome to Gene Stealer Cult.
The task ahead seems like pretty crazy. But one thing that I'm really keen to do is get some Gene Stealers, and because I want it all to be this kind of like weird kind of chemical testing place that kind of got out of hand or something, like a drugs cartel that ended up dallying in Gene Stealer Cult stuff or something like that. I wanted to make all the Gene Stealer cults. I wanted to brand them, like carve numbers into their heads.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it looks like they're all kind of parts of some sort of weird science experiment or something.
Yeah, you should see if you can get some of those old metal printing blocks that you could just heat up and like actually burn it into the model.
Yeah, that's more expensive. I'm trying to do it as cheaply as possible now. I've spunked all my money on under 300 quid's worth of Gene Stealer cult. So I'm all over eBay looking for some fucking bargains.
Yeah.
Thankfully I've still got my big box of sprues, and like I said, I've been saving up a lot of bits for everything. I just didn't realize they were going to equal so few points on the battlefield when I spent this much money on them. Damn it!
Yeah, for sure.
That's what it is, I guess.
Well, the start collecting box for the new Gene Stealer cult is going to be crazy value. It's like 140 quid's worth for 85 off of GW, so that's like 60 quid from a other retailer. So yeah, I think that's going to be worth getting as a box.
I mean, we didn't talk about it last time, but there's the Battle Forge boxes or something came out. The
Battle Force boxes, but I don't think Gene Stealer Cult's got a Battle Force.
No, they didn't. But those boxes did look really cool. There were some good deals in there as well.
Yeah, they're not often are at Christmas.
Oh well. Anyway, that would have been something you could have got if we'd been more on the ball. So sorry about that. Let's move on to the news, I guess.
It's the news.
Wow.
It's the chuffing news.
Have you heard? 6s are now 4s.
It's the news.
Gene Stealer Limo's back.
News.
You want to live forever, listener? Well, and if your case, then buy yourself a Warhammer Plus subscription and watch the new episode of Hammer and Bolter, which is Imperial Guard guys fighting the bugs. It's a classic battle. It's a matchup we've all come to know and love. It's the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder of the Games Workshop world. So, you guys are both Warhammer Plus subscribers. What do you guys think of this?
You go first, Matt, because as soon as I saw that this was Cadia Stans, I thought, Matt's going to love this. And then the opener in the trenches, it opens, Stody, with a quote by Lord Solar Macarius. And it flashed up and I was like, Matt is going to be screaming at the TV when he watches this. So did you enjoy it, Matthew?
No.
Oh. Whoa. Shock.
Oh.
I'd been looking forward to it all week because we had the email on the weekend. So they send you an email on the weekend and they say, here's what's coming up on Wednesday when they release it onto Warhammer Plus. So I thought, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be great. But it goes back to what I said before. This is the first. So this Hammer and Bolter is the 7th or the 8th episode, and it's the first one that is actually a typical Warhammer battle scene. And it's why the other ones were so great, because they weren't a battle scene. As soon as it started, I hated it. It is the worst one. It's so shit. It was so unbelievable shit. I was watching it. I'm sorry. It was fucking terrible. I was watching it like there's this. Sorry, I'm going off on one now.
Yeah,
absolute.
Feel the
pussy,
rage.
Go ahead, Matt.
Absolute pussy messenger who's in the Imperial Guard and can't cope seeing a dead body. And typical. 15 minutes in, suddenly he's like shooting them all in the head and he's the hero, and she's like, wow, you've really changed your ways in 15 minutes. Fuck off. 1, you don't build a trench line in straight lines. That's why trench lines are zigzags. 2, you don't build trench lines against the Tyranids, as we've discussed in a previous episode. 3, Cadian regiments or any Imperial Guard do not hold a trench line with like one guy in the fucking trench line. It's a trench line. It's meant to be full of people in dugouts, not fucking some half-dead guy lifting up.
Hi, Large Blast podcast listener, Stody here. Unfortunately, at this part of Matt's rant, he degenerated into incomprehensible noises and sound effects. So just as a roundup, know that he was very unimpressed with the latest episode of Hammer and Bolter.
It is why all of the other episodes are amazing, because they weren't frontline battle scenes.
Okay.
And this is why this one was terrible.
I
It was
see-
just, it
I
was
can see
terrible.
Okay,
all
right.
of your points there. So this I was excited to talk about because it was a Hammer and Bolter episode. All right, it was a classic fight scene, but it was against my main faction and Matt's original OG faction. I just liked seeing Tyranids on the TV. That was exciting to me. I like the fact that there was Rippers. There's a bit where the little Ripper swarms
Oh yeah, I like the
jump
rippers.
out
Yeah.
and like are just ripping this guy to pieces like piranhas and blood's flying everywhere. And I thought that's quite bold for 40K Warhammer to put in something that looks like a kid's cartoon. That kind of makes me think, oh, they'll keep it at least grim dark in the future if they're going to have a horrible death scene like that. But I see all of your points there, Matt.
Wow.
I actually got quite emotional when they pulled the guy up and gave him the gun because all we wanted to do was fight until his last breath. They weren't saving that guy. They weren't saving him.
Yeah,
the
but they
trenches-
Matt, whoa.
They left. I can understand that, but they left
feel
this
like all
guy
of
that was
Matt's- all of
dying
Matt's
holding a whole
complaints-
trench line.
I feel
It's
like
so
all,
stupid.
I feel like all of Matt's complaints are the exact reason why we can't have nice things as Games Workshop
No.
fans. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Because
no,
calm
no.
down. Because listen, because you're too
No, you're
you're too
absolutely wrong.
focused in on that. This is a stupid. I get that they're not in keeping with the stuff that they say or whatever, but this is Imperial Guard. They dig trenches. They do all of that. This is the franchise, isn't it? So they're trying to.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. This is you're absolutely wrong. That Hammer
wrong.
and Bolter. Hammer and Bolter has been
you're wrong.
amazing. No, it's been amazing
No,
because it
wrong.
hasn't been.
Matt,
it hasn't been
you're
about
wrong. Listen,
warfare.
The new
Have you
Hammer
even
and
watched
Bolter
it?
is
You haven't even
great.
watched it, so you
I
don't
have.
know.
It was brilliant. I loved it. They had Tyranids in it.
No,
They
I'm
dug,
sorry.
I loved
No,
it. My
my-
favorite part was
no.
where they dug the trenches. They were like, "Hey, you know what? Let's dig them
They didn't
straight.
dig it. They
Let's
were
dig them
already
in
there.
straight lines. Let's be different." They said. I remember that bit. It was my favorite part. So the Tau just got an awesome new close combat unit. Psycho only Joker. They got new, improved, better guns, big fucking guns. Welshie, what's going on with this Tau news drop and their big fucking guns?
Oh, well, we all played Warhammer in 7th edition. We all remember getting all of our exciting models that we painted for months and months shot off the table turn 1. I'm sure we remember that. Do we remember that, boys?
Oh, that's the worst.
No.
I'm going to put a marker light in this. I'm going to put a marker light in that. You ever tried to
Boom.
charge a Tau
You're
player?
gone.
It's the most depressing thing ever. 2 people make it in. Sucks.
Well, that looks like it's coming back, so strap yourself in. But these are just 2 previews. So they started with the new railgun profile, right, which does D3 plus 6 damage. So potentially 9 damage on a strength 14 AP minus 6 gun. So you're not going to get a save. You also are going to take 3 mortal wounds. So that's 12 damage. And there's ways of making it so that you have no invulnerable save. This is
Ooh.
potentially 12 wound, a gun. All right, it does 1 shot. I know Matt's going to come on and go, well, it's got 1 shot, so if you miss, it's not going to do any damage. But if you hit with it, which you're probably going to because you're a fucking Tau, 12 damage, no saves, no invulnerable saves, nothing, just boom. It's a railgun. It should be great. Found it really difficult to be like somewhere between railguns should be OP and this is OP.
So what was the old railgun like? Is this like how much of an upgrade is this?
Significant. I've got one of these on my Tau Orc army, and it used to be good. Yeah, you could pull it out and you could pretty much destroy a rhino, but
One
you
shot.
weren't going to finish it
One
off.
shot of Lehman Russ, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But no, not with the original one.
Really?
Yeah. Whereas this,
Well, I
you're
don't know.
pretty much
was
guaranteed to
straight
knock
up
the
sh-
rhino out turn
It
1.
was strength 14.
Yeah, but
and
you're not. It
toughness
didn't do enough
14.
wounds to kill a rhino.
Oh, you can't penetrate the
I
Lehman Russ.
suppose
Yeah. Anyway, we
in
digress.
the days where you would have to roll to see if it blew up on like a damage table for vehicles, maybe, but like not earlier in like 8th and stuff. But then Stoney, right? Then they previewed the new gun for the Storm Surge, the pulsed blast cannon. Oh my god, this does flat damage 12. Flat 12.
Right.
This gun can
Yeah.
take 24 wounds off of a knight in 1 shot. That's the knight
i.e. kill
dead.
it.
Gone.
Holy moly. Okay.
Holy shit.
So
yeah.
this has in some ways become a mini knight for the Tau in some ways, right? I mean,
Well,
what else can deal that kind of
A
damage?
knight
Nothing.
can't do that.
Nothing
No,
in the game.
Nothing in the game.
Nothing
Okay,
in the
so
game. No.
you remember? So this is Tau getting shooty OP again.
Yeah. And it was interesting because I was looking, we'll chat about Genestealer Cults in a minute, but I was looking at what other guard tanks I could get for my Genestealer Cults. And I looked up the Death Strike missile, you know, the tank with the huge
the crazy
rocket,
crazy
Oh, yeah.
missile.
which
Yeah.
compared to this is like pissing on something. Just
Yeah.
like it's mad. You're right, this is a mini knight. I mean, the Storm Surge is basically a mini knight, but it's only 330 points, so it's a lot cheaper than a knight, with the potential to do 24 wounds. I mean, obviously you're going to get a 4-up invul save against them if you're a knight, but Jesus.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that some of these rules, because I know the Custodes have just had some crazy rules as well. All of this stuff has just come out after all the competitive play results and being like the Games Workshop being like, oh, look how balanced competitive play is at the moment. Whereas this, it feels like if you just bought like a Tau army just made of these armless dudes and the fucking that Gatling laser thing, then you'd take out most things, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
let's not joke around. Tau have had no love. They haven't been able to win a game in like years, so they deserve the swing deserves to come back round to them. But
okay.
how they balance these new guns is going to be very interesting, indeed.
Well, there you go. The pendulum favors the Tau. So, listener at home, you know we throw a lot of shit at the wall when it comes to predictions here on the LBP, but god damn it, we've kind of got one right. Where some new Eldar, some new old school style Eldar, where they've glowed up the old ones, made them look a bit more in keeping with Games Workshop's current range. What do you guys think? I know Welshie, you have been very critical of the Eldar in the past. What do you think about these glow up models?
I still absolutely hate the majority of them. The Guardians,
Okay.
it's not my cup of tea. If you liked the old school Eldar and you like the way that their armor's designed and you like how spindly and scrawny they are, I'm sure you'll love this. It's not my cup of tea. I just can't, I don't care how much more high-tech or old they're supposed to be. Nothing can make me understand how one of these is supposed to be able to beat a Space Marine. It just doesn't, I just don't get it. I know they're faster and sneaky and just how. That said, the new, I think they're called Shroud Runners, the double people riding a jet bike that are stolen basically from Star Wars, I think are great looking models.
All right. Well, I mean, I kind of agree with you. It's like I don't have the same hatred for the Eldar that you do, so I don't like hate these models. I don't think like, oh, how could they not beat a Space Marine or anything? I don't know. They're just kind of, it's just how it is. But like they seem like a good upgrade of the old models. They're not like drastically changed. This isn't like a Primus Marine for Eldar or anything. But I definitely agree with you that out of the entire range, the new jet bike models are the ones that speak to me the most. You see those, and I think those look cool. Those are way cooler than the old jet bikes. The two guys on there, one on the back with the sniper rifle, the kind of capes they've got, and even the extra kind of fairings and wings on the jet bikes make them look cooler. So I think these Eldar models are pretty good.
I think they've done what we wanted them to do, right? Which is take improvements to tech for making things spindly and sharp and apply it for a glow up, which is, I'm sure you'd be very happy with. The Rangers I like as well, with the capes and the sniper rifles.
Yeah, I don't know about those Rangers. Like for me, they've got some weird poses going on in the range, which I know are kind of reminiscent of the old poses. They're trying to copy the old models there, and but it's okay to throw in some new stuff sometimes. We don't need to just be playing the same models for the next 30 years, you know.
Yeah.
Especially as the Eldar range. It's funny because the Eldar range is a really old range, and there's models in there, maybe the oldest, that haven't been changed, you know, for years and years. And these new models are pretty much the same, just better, you know. So it's not even like that they've seen not to change the design at all. Like I say, this isn't Primus or anything. It's not drastic, but yeah, they're good. They look cool. I like them.
It's hard to. It's none of our cup of tea. But to the person who does collect Eldar, they probably don't want something that different. But the Rangers, just what you were saying, Stoney, they're in a classical poses. They could have done something much more exciting with them. The models, the Guardians and stuff. I kind of thought when I saw them, I thought, yeah, they're all right, but to be honest, these I mean, they look like something they could have released 10 years ago, and maybe now we would have had a new generation of Eldar that would have been more like the Age of Sigmar range. It's completely out there. They really,
but
they're really missing.
Maybe because these are the very standard, the most bog standard vanilla Eldar models.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of crazy, more elaborate, interesting Eldar kind of subspecies. That hopefully that like the striking scorpions, the
new
warp
scorpions, new warp spiders,
the howling banshees, these really cool, out there, colourful.
They're
models,
coming out, aren't they? They're happening, aren't they?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they're just lubing us up with some of these vanilla stuff, and then they're going to get in there. All of a sudden, they wheel out the fuck machine, which is the striking scorpion.
Talking of the fuck machine, can we mention the crotch of the matter here, though? Do Eldar have dicks? Because there is very little crotch room in that armor.
Any listener watches RuPaul's Drag Race, you'll know that every Eldar tucks. So it's just a part of being more efficient. Fine. How do you expect to be? You up your agility 10% when you tuck.
Okay.
That's I mean, Primaris Marines. You spoke about fighting against Space Marines, Welshie, but maybe the Primaris Marines have a massive codpiece. Maybe that's the problem. They're waddling around with a massive space.
In the problem. Space Marines only problem is their weakness is their dick's too big.
They're waddling around. The only other thing I'd add, I think the Autark is correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Autark is the model that they've said is the scale is completely the same as the original or something, and you can combine it and adapt it with the original metal model, which is I think that's really cool. And for the fact that Games Workshop come out and say and they market that as a plus to the model, I think is quite cool. That's great that they're almost adding to their original range while creating a new range, so that's good.
So new codexes are on the horizon. Genestealer Cult and Custodes, both new codexes and some spicy new rules, that means, as always. So Welshie, what do you think about this?
That's right, yeah. Spicy new rules for both of these. As ever, don't come to us at the Large Blast podcast for in-depth rules reviews. Go and find a better bloody YouTube channel. So if you want the LBP style too long didn't read for these codexes, the Custodes is bloody complicated. You're not going to understand what the person you're playing against is doing anyway. They're basically just going to flop their big golden dick out on the table, shout something about the Emperor, and despite having hardly any models, be really hard to shift and kill loads of your stuff. That's basically the summary from Custodes. They've got a load of strats that you'd expect them to have they didn't really have before. They've got some Space Marine style strats that are cheaper than the Space Marine ones. They're going to be tough. And they're going to have all of the new martial stuff that you're not going to understand. So don't even try. Just enjoy seeing the shiny gold racing towards you. More interesting to me and Stoney as a new Genestealer Cult collector was the Genestealer Cult Codex, which again, TLDR, basically Genestealer Cults are going to be up in your ass really quick, really fast, all over the place. Their standard kind of way they come onto the board hasn't really changed. There's blips, so you can ambush from underground, or if you're deploying on the board, you put the little tokens down, so no one knows where you've deployed anyway. But every unit that deep strikes can deep strike within 8 inches rather than 9, which is a significant bonus to your charge. There are ways to pay for units to be able to deep strike within 3, like before. And there's basically a number of ways that you can guarantee charges on the turn that you come in, either by deep striking real close or being able to re-roll charges. You can even come on from strategic reserves with a unit turn 1, so from board edges and stuff as well. They're going to be all over the place. They're going to be fast. They're going to be popping up. Loads of buffs. Acolytes gotten up to strength, toughness 4. Genestealers actually playable. They now have a 4-up in vulnerable save and base 4 attacks.
No,
baby.
Yeah, boy. Real good, fun codex. I am literally started last night painting some more Genestealer Cult units because I want to play these new rules. They seem more Raven Guard than Raven Guard, and I love it.
Let's get this going. Let's get that Genestealer Cult versus complicated Custodes action.
Rolling in my 6-4.
It's not the car, it's the van. Free. And we've got three spicy boys here ready to talk about this. When Horus turned his hand and revealed his true intentions, killing the loyal members of his faction. So this is where it all began. This was it. This is the heresy. What do you guys think? This is the world eaters, the Horus's guys, the sons of Horus, the Emperor's children. The
Death Guard's a good one to put in there.
Yeah, Death Guard. Yeah. Dirty heretical bastards.
They've all kind of got together, haven't they? The sneaky, cheeky brothers. Fulgrim's there, Horus is there, Mortarian's there, Angron's there, the four baddies.
Why are they there? Why are they there?
Well, there's a rebellion, isn't there, in the Istvaan system. The people of the Istvaan system have started to rebel, influenced by chaos. This is where the war singers come in, isn't it? There's a bit of Slaneshi influence going on.
Slaanesh war singers, yeah. So what's the name of the governor again? Who so they get hidden, I think, by some kind of warp storm for like 6 years or something, and everyone's just like, oh well, we'll just let that blow over. I'm sure it will be fine. Just leave them down there, and then they get some kind of delayed message, I think, of someone being like, hey, what's everyone down here has gone crazy and chaosy. And it's like 3 years late because it's been bent round the warp or something.
Baron Vardus Praal, that's it.
Praal, that's his name. Yeah.
Right, there's this message. Yeah. You're right, it is everything's going to shit, but by the time they get there, everything's very much gone to shit.
Absolutely. But they're about 3 years too late. They just get this message too late, and they send everybody there. And Horus sees this as a way of like weeding out the loyal bastards, doing the surprise attack and getting everybody basically.
Yeah, so I guess that's the plan, isn't it? That it leads to is cleansing the legions, removing the loyalist ones. So that's quite an interesting point to talk about there, isn't it? Is the who is loyal? I mean, the heroes of these legions that go on to be there on Istvaan 3, which we'll talk about in a second. But we've got heroes known throughout the Horus heresy. Loken's there, Garrow's there, Saul Tarvitz, Erlen, Tormageddon.
Yeah,
these are real
Lucius,
Eldalon.
Lucius is not a hero, but
I know he's not a hero, but he's there.
He's a hero until
he decides.
We're not taking sides. Don't take sides. Because
that's one of the things. Is like it's kind of interesting. He's a hero until he decides not to be, because they get split up. So the Death Guard are supposed to like take down the like military barracks and stuff like this. The World Eaters are supposed to take down the transit system. They've got like a big train or something in the middle, and the World Eaters have got to go in there and stop them from like resupplying and stuff like that. And then the Emperor's children have to go and get old matey himself. What was his name again?
Praal.
Like, their plan is to go and get Praal. And like, bear in mind, this is at the time they're sending in the loyal guys because they're the ones they want to bomb. So at this time, Lucius the Eternal is a loyal guy, and they send him in, and he kills Praal himself. He's the one that kills Praal in hand-to-hand combat. And then as soon as he sees the turn,
Lucius the Eternal.
Yeah, and then as soon as Lucius sees the turn, he's like, "Oh shit! I just never got invited to the lodges or nothing. I didn't realize they were into this dark nonsense. I'm down with that."
One
and he
turns.
Do you know how does he talk his way out of that hole?
He's Lucius.
He's a loyalist.
Let's hold back a bit. Let's come to that's all going to happen on Istvaan 3. I find interesting why do certain people in the legions remain loyal, whereas others go straight in for it?
That is interesting.
And a bit of common ground is a lot of the loyalists are Terran born and served on Terra.
Yeah.
In the Unification Wars before the Emperor went out and found the Primarchs, and lots of the captains that are really bad, like Typhon at this time, is from Barbarous and grew up with the Primarchs and know them from there. So that's quite an interesting point, I think.
Well, we kind of established that in our previous episode, didn't we? If you were going to be evil and fall to chaos, you've got to be born on the original Primarch planet, a first captain, and a psyker. But basically, generally, a first captain. If you're the first captain of a traitor legion, you're fucked, and they're all fucked. But so the born on Terra. That's good
But the
Postulation.
ones from Terra, like for instance, old Nathaniel Garrow, our old man from the Death Guard there, who flew the old ship back and got the message and all of that. Like, because he's really old
future.
school. Yeah, he was from the Dusk Raiders, which were
Yeah.
like a group. Of
Oh
people
yeah, the
even
proto
before.
Death Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and were they made from the Emperor's gene seed? Something
No.
like that. I think that
They
they've
were-
got a closer link to
They'd
the Emperor. I think
they'd already
than-
made Mortarion, hadn't they? And then he disappeared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're all still made from the gene seed because
Oh,
there's a
okay.
bit where in the lead up to all of this, there's another battle against the Yorkal, which are like
On
an alien,
Terra.
three-legged alien race. No, in this like cylinder
Oh,
floating
right.
in space. And Mortarion, whenever he fights, picks someone from the Death Guard who he thinks like is man of the match, and has a drink of
Oh, yeah.
of poison
Yeah, yeah.
with them.
Oh yes,
and he
Garrow.
picks Garrow. So that shows that he must. All of those Space Marines are made from the gene seed. Still, they were just made on
Mm.
Terra. Otherwise,
But
would have died.
Garrow gets really worried that the Death Guard aren't upholding the Dusk Raider tradition.
yeah, he's
Is
all
one of
about
his
it.
big things because he's really about the old Terran traditions kind of thing.
Yeah, in that book, he's like the only one that's got. He has like a house slave that's a failed Death Guard recruit that everyone frowns on him for because that's a Dusk Raider thing and not a Death Guard thing. If you don't get into the Death Guard later on, you're just dead.
Yeah,
You don't get
and
redemption.
he turns out to be a fucking cool dude as well. What's his name?
Caleb,
can't
I
remember.
think his name. is.
Caleb, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good guy.
Okay.
And,
Well-
those Dusk Raiders are cool. Their armor is really cool. They've got like a whole red.
What
arm.
color were they?
Well, they were like
right?
white. They were the same white, but they had a crimson
Oh,
arm that was
God.
supposed to be the Emperor's red right hand. That's how it's like described. They are.
Nice.
Going back to the are they all from the same gene seed? I think the before the law, it doesn't anymore, but the law used to infer, or maybe there's a conspiracy theory that the Emperor's experiment for the Primarchs, when it got blown apart by chaos, he created the Space Marines from the research that he could still have access to. So the Space Marines were kind of like a stopgap measure because he lost his masterpiece. So
Yeah.
like, are
They
they?
certainly didn't have all the samples that he would have had if they were still floating around in their tubes for a bit.
So would they even have been made? Who knows? That's another
Mm.
subject. But yeah, they're all related to Mortarion one way or another.
Yeah. So
They're
yeah,
disgusting.
that's really interesting, and I think it lands a lot of credence to like the planets. I mean, they clearly are, but the planets have some kind of warpness about them. The ones that corrupt are the bad
Yeah.
Primarchs, and not in all cases, but the big four. This big four were clearly tainted by
Nature or nurture.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's funny because, and we sort of talk a little bit about, sort of brushed on the fact that maybe the Emperor did know that this stuff was going to happen or whatever. And I mean, what's funny is it feels like a lot of the other Primarchs and stuff, but everybody's had up until Istvaan 3, there's been all these kind of inklings and kind of suspicions and things like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, this is what's happening. Horus plays his hand. Are you for us or against us? And that happens with a lot of people like Sol Tarvitz and Garrow. We just mentioned Garrow, how he basically gets kind of groomed by Mortarion to be a part of the traitors. And then he gets his leg blown off and is basically in hospital for the training day where they're all like, oh, it's time to like turn to chaos. So he like just kind of slips through, and then they just put him on the Istvaan, like, oh, you were there, right? Come on, get on board, whatever.
Did they get free sandwiches?
He gets free sandwiches, exactly.
He didn't learn the funny handshake for the lodges. Funny handshake. Training.
Exactly. Like they just kind of like he just missed that day, so they just let him on, and they didn't realize he was still loyal or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of he gets his leg blown off by a war singer, like you say, and they replace it with this metal on the lower half of his leg. And that always kind of made me think like, oh, if you were a Space Marine and you knew that if you got a part of you blown off, it's going to be replaced with like a cool bionic thing. If you were like a small dick Space Marine, every time I'm in like a gunfight, I'm just going to be sticking my dick round the corner. Just like, oh
Self-inflicted
no,
wounds,
I've got my dick
self-inflicted
blown
wounds.
off. I've got to get like a 12-inch whopper.
The mechadendrite dick.
Exactly.
All
right.
Yeah.
I'm running on memory on this episode. I haven't done any research, and I would like to establish a tiny bit of the timeline. So Stoney just mentioned that, they come in, they suddenly all these people have turned against the Emperor, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But by the time they get to Istvaan 3, have the Space Wolves already tried to wipe out the Thousand Suns?
I think that's happening kind of.
That's is it?
on the-
I
at
think
the
that's
same
happened
time,
though,
that's
hasn't it?
like-
That's.
I'd have
'Cause
to
they're-
check the dates definitively for that.
I think it's
I think-
it's happened or happening at the same time.
Yeah, I think we're all saying I think a lot in this, so no one
Yeah.
take any of this as like solid concrete. But from what I've been researching, I vaguely remember it happening at more or less the same time. But aren't the Space Wolves also kind of out of communication with people as well? They're kind of being duped into, getting an O2 contract or something. They're in a Vodafone area.
They don't have any signal on their bones.
Exactly. It's some shit like that. Some other chaosy nonsense, MacGuffin that came along and saved the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that more or less that battle is happening, outside of this, almost as a separate kind of thing,
So,
separate but the same.
So how much time has lapsed, if any of you remember, since the what's the sword that pierces Horus? The Nalfane, the thing that
Anathame.
the Anathane. How much time? 2 years?
In terms
Yeah.
of books, this really happens in book 3 and book 4 of the trilogy, and that happens at the end of book 2, I think. So it's, this is all key to it, but I don't know time-wise. So in summary, then we've got the 4 naughty Primarchs that are there: Horus, Fulgrim, Mortari, and Angron. They're all there. Everyone's rebelling on the planet, and the 4 Primarchs decide to gather up their loyalist people that they don't think will follow Horus, and send their loyalist compartments down to the planet to quash this rebellion. Other than notable people that aren't sent down, Saul Tarvitz, he's left with the Emperor's children, and Nathaniel Garrow. Loken's down on the planet, Erland's down on the planet. All of the loyalists from those 4 factions are down on the planet. What does Horus do next?
Well, then it's time to drop some spicy virus bombs, baby. It's time to nuke those fucks. Get them off the face of the planet, right?
That's it. That's his plan. Put those world eater virus bombs down there, which are the coolest bombs, aren't they? We talked about them in our Exterminatus episode. They the virus just melts everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, it turns you all into petrol, and then you can set the petrol on fire.
That's it. Yeah. So the whole planet's going to be on fire. But Saul Tarvitz, who no one suspects of being loyalist, notices them loading up these virus bombs and decides to get himself down onto the planet to warn the loyalists, because he's an all-round good guy. He loves himself, but he loves the Emperor more.
Doesn't
So he
get
goes
suspicious?
boots on the ground down there, even though everybody
he get,
thinks he's a shifty cunt.
Doesn't he get inquisitive, like James Bond inquisitive in the spaceship, because Eidolon is prancing around on the deck, and he's like, why is Eidolon still in the spaceship? He normally wants to go down tearing out people limb for limb.
That's
and
it.
he's
Yeah,
still
that's
on the
part of what
spaceship.
makes him think. You're right, because he's
Yeah.
like, Eidolon's the shiny, shimmering, looking at himself in a mirror, ready to go to battle and show off
Classic
his
Emperor's
skills.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he can't understand what's going on. You're right. That's what makes him suspicious in the first place, isn't it? And then he
He sees
he's
the
like,
virus bomb.
why have you just sent half the legion down and
Yeah.
you're loading the
why not
worst
send
weapon we've
all
got?
the legions? Yeah.
So he
But
also
why?
gets a message to Garrow, doesn't he? So Garrow's still in orbit because he's got a hurty leg.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's who he keys Garrow up to to what's going on, and Garrow's also seen some virus bomb style activity.
yeah.
And ends up going and stopping it himself.
Yeah, so Tarvitz hits the planet and manages to get this message to them just before the bombs start falling. So they basically hide underground in bunkers, don't they? Once they've got the message. They
I mean, they're
hide.
lucky to find the bunkers.
Yeah,
they're lucky
it
to
is
find
like
them.
a real, look, the sky's falling. Oh,
There's
I
a
happen to
bunker.
have found a helpful bunker. Not only that, but it's a bunker that It's not just like an
Fits all the
Anderson
Space
shelter.
Marines. Yeah,
is it?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
It's big enough.
Yeah.
enough for hundreds of Space Marines and dreadnoughts, because there's a couple of dreadnoughts.
Or maybe,
down there as well.
it's just like an underground car park, and they just park all the tanks up and then run down to the cinema. Who
There's
knows?
one guy that's just like, oh, this is going to cost me a fortune. I've got to send
Some
my
guy
receipts
desperately
to Guliman
putting the
after
coins
this.
in the.
I went to Japan before, and there was like, you get these earthquake warnings on your phone. Do you reckon they all got like a Voxcast that was like, get yourself under a heavy oak table,
Yeah,
hide under a door frame, there's a
Yeah.
virus bomb.
but the guy is still in the car park. Like, how do I need 8 hours? 24 hours?
How long do you guys think we're going to be here? I don't
paying
want
£10.
any more
What am I doing?
charges.
So they managed to survive, right? A decent, like hundreds in number of loyalist Space Marines survive, and they've obviously worked out that something's gone horribly wrong now on the planet. What Horus should do at that point is just bomb the planet again, just orbital bombard it to shit. But one of his brothers has made an awful error.
Oh yeah. Well, this is where old are you thinking about when Angron just Leroy Jenkins is it back into the fray?
Yeah.
Oh,
As
really?
soon as
I don't
Angron
remember
knows
this.
people have survived, yeah.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't
He's
remember
just
this.
like, right,
Tell me more. Tell me
right,
more.
boys, everyone on the ship, and let's get
What?
down there and fucking and kill everybody else. So he takes boots to the ground.
As soon as he
when-
can.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's just like, what? There's people still to
Shit.
kill down there.
No.
It's a literal Leroy Jenkins move, because Horus is like, hey, let's take it easy. Let's virus bomb him again. We've got all these bombs. We're ready to go.
Tactical genius.
They can't stay underground forever. We'll get them, whatever. And fucking Angron's just like, nah, mate, we're going in.
Yeah. He doesn't even say that. It's like Horus turns round. He's just explained the plan, and he turns around and he's like, oh shit, where's Angron? And everyone just sighs. Oh,
He's gone to lick a donka.
yeah. And
done
Angron's just
that
like,
thing.
see you later, pussies. Just fucking gets down there and just fucking waist deep in the dead again.
That answers one question I wanted to reconfirm, was why the hell didn't they just bombard the planet again?
Well, that's it. So they go.
That's
Angron
it.
goes down, and I think it's 'cause there's like they're all underground. So there's a bit of time where they're all underground planning and trying to get their head around how much they've got left. Then Horus realizes Angron's there, realizes he can't destroy all the World Eaters because he needs the World Eaters for the coming wars. And it basically turns into like a months-long siege where the guys that are in the bunker are holding out like absolute heroes against the World Eaters that have gone down.
Yeah.
And they hold them up. They hold them up for ages. It fucks Horus's plan up, doesn't
It's
it?
a real, like, that move by Angron really smashes the momentum out of what Horus wanted to do, which is take everyone somewhere else.
What if that was like a secret last-ditch Angron loyalist move? He was 50-50 on the fence, and he saw that happen on one side, and then he was like,
He
no.
is whatever side of the fence the fight
if anyone's least on the fence,
I think
it's him.
the only reason Angron joined Horus was because he thought it meant that he'd get to fight more. And then as soon as Horus is like, no, we're going to use bombs, he's like, what have I signed up for? I'm getting down there.
Before we move, so we've had the virus bomb. Before we move on, the one thing I wondered, from what we've talked about and from memory, if anyone can answer this, is if this planet has turned to chaos, right? So on the face of it is on the same side as Horus. Why does Horus choose a planet that's turned to chaos as a planet that he virus bombs when he could choose the planet next to it and virus bomb that with loyalists? He has to put down the rebellion, doesn't he?
But he's
he has
also
to have an
using the trap.
excuse.
It's the perfect
it's a trap. Yeah,
it's the perfect cheese in the mousetrap, because he knows that the other Space Marines it's all like, because the Emperor gets pissed. It's an order from the Emperor and the Council of Terror to go and attack this planet. The Emperor gets super pissed off that old what's-his-mate has fallen. So it's the perfect opportunity.
But it's not the Emperor though, is it? It's Horus. So Horus.
No, but the Emperor sends Horus, and then Horus twists it into this thing. So like all the Space Marines are like super down for going and fucking these guys up.
Yeah.
But you've also got to remember
Horus
that he's not really like, he could have utilized the planet to make stuff, but he's nowhere near the point of Hunter Heres. He isn't fallen to chaos yet. He's just wants to take the throne from the Emperor. He's anti-Emperor, but he's not chaos. It's not like he'd go down and chill out with like the people.
And it's all about that, you know, like in the grand scheme of things, this taking over one planet is nothing to Horus. Like he's been out there, he takes over 2 planets for fucking before breakfast, you know. So this guy's still small time to him.
You know, he could have made up a story and deployed those legions on an empty world and then virus bomb the world. Anyway, we're not going to digress the story. No. But I think you're right. I mean, you need a genuine cheese to trap the mouse, and the mouse fell completely for it. And what better way than turning against the Emperor? All the loyalist Space Marines want to wipe him out. So what happens when the dust clears and Angron is on the planet? How does Angron get into the bunkers, or what happens?
So they realize that they're never getting off the planet. So they realize all they can do is fight the people in the bunkers.
Last stand.
It goes down, and this is, I mean, I think some of this is some of the best duels in the Horus Heresy. Like some of the fights that go on here. There's the final crux points. You've got Loken fights Abaddon.
I remember Abaddon. At this point, I remember that.
That's the base, the Horus Heresy,
the Forge World
base, where they both stand on the same base. That's mental. Lucius, after he's just been and fought the governor, goes in the previous fights, goes down, and there's a Tarvitz versus Lucius battle that's like a proper swordsman swashbuckling thing where Tarvitz beats the shit out of him. One of the only
But did they both survive that duel? They must do.
So but Lucius manages to escape.
Yeah, Sol Tarvis shows up and he finds Lucius the Eternal fighting a bunch of guys.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, I better help Lucius." So he jumps in and starts fighting and kicking the crap out of these other guys as well. And then he realizes that he was killing loyalist guys, and Lucius had turned. And then him and Lucius have this cool duel.
The balls on Lucius, though, to just go to make that decision by himself. Just go, I'm on the wrong side. I'm going to fight my way out of all of these
such
good
a
guys.
Turncoat. It's like it doesn't even. He gives no fucks. Just whoever's winning. Classic Man U supporter.
They're just great fights there. At the end of the day, though, Horus is the World Eaters get backed up by all of the other traitor legions, and the loyalist faction loses this war. We never know what happens to Saul Tarvitz. He's just assumed dead. And then once they've won the war and Angron's killed enough people and drunk enough blood and gathered enough skulls, Horus then fully orbital bombards the fucking planet. But he's been held up, and that's the heroic thing.
Nobody knows what happens to Tarvitz.
No, it's like, I don't think it's, well, I might have this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like just unknown. He's just in the rubble somewhere. It's a real kind of...
Could he be the one that saves the Emperor at the end of the book series?
I thought that he died.
Well, that's the assumption, but there's no, like, it's not like, there's no duel.
Unless they write it.
So-and-so cuts his head off.
Is it not in the Fulgrim book about him?
So, but while all this is going on, Garrow's up in orbit still, and he realizes that the only way a message is going to get to the Emperor is if he takes it, right? And he gathers up, another serendipitous moment that Euphrates Keeler, the future like saint preacheress, is also on the ship with him, and he has to kind of break the blockade and escape.
And they're like, Garrow's desperately trying to send a message, because it's almost like an unnatural thing for them to see Space Marines killing other Space Marines. For us, it'd be like the sky was red when we woke up. I mean, it's completely unnatural. So they have
definitely. And I mean, at this stage in the story, Garrow's had to already kill a few of his brothers. So, you know, he's already in quite deep, and they like escape by the skin of their ass through the warp as fucking what's his name? Not Mortarion, but the second in command.
Typhus.
You know, Typhus is chasing after him, because they do this kind of like shifty, like put on a big moustache on the ship and are like, "Oh, we're just off to the shops. Does anybody want anything?" And they're like,
Cornetto.
"Yeah, no worries, it'll be fine."
Yeah.
And then, like at the very last minute, they realise that they're going to do this.
What
jump
if
and start
Typhus was
chasing
like,
him.
no, I need some more Rizzlers.
Yeah, I mean that's
Oh,
kind of what
get me
happens.
more
Is
Rizzlers.
Typhus is like, "Oh, just get me the usual." And then
Yeah.
Garrow's like, Mars bar, and everyone knows that Typhus likes Snickers, so he's like, he starts coming after
It's
him
a
and
sign.
and he sneaks out by the skin of his ass and runs into fucking Rogel Dawn. Speaking of more serendipitous events that happen in the infinity of space,
The
Yeah.
Phalanx is quite a big ship.
Yeah. It's not that big.
But that's,
But
I mean, that all happens in Flight, the end of Flight of the Eisenstein, right, where he finally gets the message through to somebody. I mean, it's not to the Emperor, but it's to Dawn, and that bit's just really interesting, isn't it? Where Dawn
is such a cunt in that book.
he is
At the start, like when he first runs into him, he's just like, "Oh, who's this cunt? What's that? That's bollocks!" And imprisons him.
Have you read any of these books about a Primarch? And when you've been reading it, have you never, like any Primarch, have you not thought this guy's a cunt? Every Primarch is a cunt.
Signs.
They're all cunts.
Nah.
They're all cunts.
Well, I mean, like
Vulcan's really nice.
in
Vulcan,
book,
yeah, okay. Vulcan is not a cunt.
I mean, in that book in particular, because Rogel Dawn shows up just to be kind of like a roadblock, he is like super annoying. It's like,
He is a wall.
Garrow's trying to get back and like take a message, and then Dawn's just like, "Excuse me, you've got your shirt untucked and you look a bit disheveled. Like you're going to have to come on board and answer some serious questions." Just like old Buzz Killington, Rogel Dawn showed up and fucking.
But that's what you were saying, Matt, about like how weird it is that it's the first time they've shot against Brother with bolt weapons.
He doesn't believe him, does he?
Yeah, Dawn doesn't believe him. They locks him up and like basically tortures them because their ship is infected with fucking plague marines and warp entities because they get held up in the warp for ages. And he doesn't believe him because he just can't believe that Horus would turn on the Emperor. He can't get it through his head.
I think in a way, completely undeliberately, but in a way, I mean, maybe that's why I asked about the Space Wolves going on the Thousand Suns, because obviously the Emperor commanded the Space Wolves to not to wipe out the Thousand Suns. He to like
heal or something.
To do so, yeah. But Horus turned that into destroy them.
Yeah.
But we had the two lost Primarchs that were wiped out by somebody. And
that's often hinted that it was the Space Wolves that did that, though.
So the Primarchs, surely the Primarchs would have remembered. And in the books, certainly they don't. But the idea of them being surprised, Rogel Dawn should not have been surprised by the fact that Space Marines have been killing other Space Marines.
Well, I mean, you're assuming that that's the reason the other Space Marines.
I'm assuming.
It might just be that they were all demons or something.
Yeah.
If Lehman Russ really did kill the other special Primarchs, who's to say the other Primarchs knew that he did or anything? Even
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that enough of them do when you read it. They often, like in the books, that'll be how it gets shut down. Dawn will say something like, "Oh, we don't speak about that anymore."
Oh, okay.
So,
well, it was just the turbulent years, like they say. They've put it behind them, so this is a new chapter.
It's the War Master, the selected chosen son of the Emperor.
Just going.
Maybe they don't speak about it because they really knew those other two were like real assholes. Those guys were real cunts. So I mean, I'm not sad to see him go. To be fair. What
if the Horusheresy was the second heresy, and the others were the two legions that like they had the first heresy.
Oh,
like
shit, Matt, you're right.
The Henry heresy,
and
they got utterly crushed, and it was only because Horus. It's only because Horus led his own legions to Istvaan III to wipe the loyalists out, because he learned from Henry's heresy that if you didn't wipe out your loyalists from your own legion, they'd come back to haunt you.
Oh, yeah.
Ironically, the same thing happened because Garrow got away in his spaceship and managed to warn the Emperor. So Horus was held up the siege of Istvaan, essentially, giving him enough time. What was the Emperor able to do?
The fallout is that Garrow delivers the message, and the loyalist legions, the loyalist in quotation legions, unite to go and fight back on Istvaan 5.
He sends some chaotic legions.
Half of those loyalist legions think they're loyalist legions, remember, and half conduct the drop site massacre.
And has Mumbo number 5.
Yeah, Istvaan number 5. Sandra and Rita, I believe, are both there.
So is Istvaan 5 in the same star system?
Yeah,
it must be. It's the Istvaan star system.
The Istvaan system.
Yeah.
So all of the other not all of them, but a large amount of the other legions come to like kick Horus's ass, of course.
So Ferrus Manus.
Yeah. Ferrus Manus is there being a good guy. Vulcan's there being a good guy. Korax is there being a good guy. And with them, the Night Lords, Perturabo's there. He's not going to be a good guy. And Fulgrim hides in the fortress. They all land and they move forwards, and then they turn around, and the ones that have been corrupted fire on them from behind. But that's a tale for another story. But that's the fallout is Horus reacts to this. Garrow getting the message out actually just leads to the destruction of way more loyalists.
So after this, I mean, this is the beginning of Horus wants to fly on Terror after this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to take out as many people as he can, weaken Terror's defenses. He thought if everything had gone according to plan, that no one would know he was coming, and he could just show up. No one would be there to defend it. Emperor's done.
But no, the defenses start getting put on place, and so it all comes together.
How successful do you think Horus's plan was then? Because obviously he ultimately didn't achieve his plan. But do you think his plan was a good one in the first place? Like there seems like a lot of variables in this.
No. I think the plan was flawless, other than the unpredictability of chaos. If it wasn't for Angron being a tit, it would have worked perfectly.
I don't know. If I was the War Master, everyone under my command obeys me. Everyone, all the lowly humans on the ship, they don't even know whose side they're fighting on. They assume they're fighting on the good side because they're humans and the Emperor is around. They're fighting for the War Master and the War Master's fleet. So for the most part, your fleet, your ships, your aircraft are safe. You just have to convince the commanders of your Space Marine legions what side they fight on, and everyone else will follow. But your ships, etc., will follow you blindly because they almost have no choice. So your fleet sails wherever you want to. If I was the War Master, I would have told everyone that there was a massive rebellion on Earth. And I would have just sent all the Chaos Legions straight back to Earth. And I would have only laid siege to one planet straight away, laid siege to Terra virus bomb Terra, and then invade Terra.
Well, no, because he doesn't want to, because he wants to. That's the misconception. He's not trying to destroy the galaxy. He's trying to take power.
The throne.
You're not going to burn Rome if you want to be in charge of Rome.
So there you go. So but invade it straight away. Don't even allow them. Don't even allow the Emperor to think that you're turning against him. Although I'm sure if your fleet is pointing against,
I think people might be suspect, and also, if word got out that there was something going on Earth, I think all the legions would go, and then it would just be a 50-50 split, wouldn't it? What he was trying to do was swing the odds in his favor, which ultimately he does, because he also wipes out.
He gets.
It's only because the Ultramarines are like 3 times the size of any other legion that the numbers don't balance.
You're right that the plan is foolproof, except for the fact that it needed to be absolutely watertight, because of a few key Marines managed to just almost destroy the whole thing. Even after all of this, Garrow, Soltarvit, if they hadn't been around, then maybe he would have got away with it too if it hadn't been for those pesky loyalists.
You know what I mean? Invited Angron.
He should have just like assassinated all of the people that weren't in the lodges
Yeah,
on
definitely.
the ships in the
Yeah,
quiet.
that
just
definitely would have done
split
it.
their throats in the night.
That would have done it. Because Garrow, in particular, it seems like he kind of Mr. Magoo's way back onto the Eisenhorn, or whatever.
Eisenstein,
The Eisenstein, where because it's like he gets his leg blown off, and then they just put him like Mortarion tells everybody what's going on whilst he's in surgery or whatever, and they just put him on the biggest, most important ship. It's fucking dumb.
Well, no,
That's
it's not.
dumb
It's just a
move,
little
you know?
frigate.
It's a
the
cruiser.
Eisenstein.
It's like
It's
a
not one of the
cruise- I
big
thought it was like a
ships.
cruiser.
Yeah,
They
but
put
it's
him there
big
on
when
purpose.
it's big for Mortarion when he knows that it's loaded up with virus bombs and it's going to be bombing people or whatever. If it's
The,
playing any kind of role, you don't want somebody that's potentially going to be a thorn in your side on a ship like that. You put him on the fucking Greyhound bus, the Greyhound ship. You know, like you put him on that back to Terror or something. You don't need to.
Oh no,
There was no reason for him to be there.
You're telling me he needs recuperation and fresh air, and you put him on the planet in a medical tent.
Exactly, and then you bomb the shit out of him. That would have been the smart
Here you
move.
go.
Yeah.
So there's a few loose ends still, though, on Istvaan 3, isn't there? Because we don't know what's happened to one of our heroes. Because we
Logan.
haven't said he's dead yet, and we know that he survives. Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Logan Paul.
Garviel Loken. Loken survives the orbital bombardment and crawls his way up through the rubble of the orbital bombardment as like one of the few remaining survivors, and
Like a
basically has completely lost his mind, and he goes full berserker, and he spends like the next 20 years hunting and killing every single space marine that he finds alive, whether they're good, bad, whatever, because he thinks everyone's a traitor. And he just goes like a full murderous rampage until Garrow comes back and gets him, because
is it actually
Malcador tells
20
him
years?
to. I don't know how long
Alright.
it is. It's a
But
long
it could
period
be
of time.
if that were
Yeah.
so the spaceships leave and he's
Yeah.
still there, so it could be
Yeah.
like 5-8 years.
Yeah,
Well-
Garrow gets all the way back across the galaxy because Malcador says. So Malcador forms
Well,
the
and he
Knights
goes
Errant.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he goes back to get
Malcador
him
tells him to
as
start
part
the
of his
Grey
like
Knights.
rounding up of Knights Templar guys.
Yeah.
The Knights Errant.
They're
yeah.
like,
The Knights,
oh, there's
yeah.
this crazy guy. It's a bit like a kind of a Batman, like
Getting
fucking
team together.
yeah, like vigilante guy that's going around, and Malcador's like, we've got to go and check out this guy. He's some sort of beast. So
Yeah.
Garrow gears up and goes over there. Because he
And-
started calling himself something crazy, hasn't he? He's like what's the
But Cerberus. He calls
Cerberus.
himself
He started
Cerberus.
calling it. All the people on the planet are like, oh, he's like this kind of mythical creature. They call him Cerberus.
Yeah.
Lo-
And,
Loken
they get
is-
called there. They get
Loken
called there
is-
because he's like killing that. All this village is getting killed off, like, and they think that they're like normal people or whatever. So Garrow goes down and is like talking to people, and they're getting killed off. It's all very Sherlock Holmesy. And then he finds out that they're all worshipping chaos, and this guy Cerberus is there as a loyalist guy. They track him down, and it's old Loken.
Well, that's on Istvaan 3.
Yeah.
There's villages.
Well, there's like
10
This
there's-
is post the bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
could
there's-
be what really long period
like
of time.
settlements.
Yeah.
So the Loken is part of the Lunar Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he recalls himself because the Lunar Wolves at the start of Istvaan 3 are renamed the Sons of Horus. So when he gets
Yeah.
his mind back, he rounds up like good guys and that are left, and they call themselves the Lunar Wolves again. But this ultimately, of course, leads the Knights Errant lead to the Grey Knights. Loken
Yeah.
refuses to be part of it, but all of these loyalist traitor legionnaires
Which
get
is why they're
rounded
called
up
the Grey
and sent
Knights.
off. Yeah.
As
they
you'll
wear
know,
the grey
if you
as
listen to
Malcador.
our, well, they wear the grey because they've scraped their color off their armor.
Hey, I didn't
If
realise
you
that
listen,
bit.
yeah, you listen to our
Okay.
Grey Knights episode. Yeah, they're blanks. Yeah,
There's one other survivor that I read about that I don't know if you guys know about that's really fucking cool in all of this. Do you guys know about Rylanor?
No.
that rings a bell, but no.
So
No,
Rylanor,
it's like
Big Brother
Rylan, the
or
guy on
something.
TV.
he's got really great teeth, really shiny teeth. So Rylanor is like a super loyalist Emperor's Children dreadnought. that gets sent down with the loyalist forces, and he's like a really early dreadnought, so he's proper ancient from Earth, and he survives.
Excellent.
He survives for thousands of years, right?
Excellent.
Trapped under a bunker, and manages to like make a kind of sonic beacon out of some of the Emperor's Children's sonic weapons. And all he wants to do is kill Fulgrim, right? So he is a dreadnought that's just trapped under all the rubble, and he makes this big beacon of sonic noise that's beaming out into space. And some thousand suns see it, and Magnus goes, go and find out what this beacon's all about, because it just says, I'm waiting for you, ancient, or something like that.
Oh, right.
So the thousand suns get there, and they dig down and excavate
When
like
is
they like
this?
to do. This is like thousands of years later, and they find this dreadnought, and they start talking to it, and they're like, what the hell's going on? And then he's like, I'm not waiting for you. And then in the background, this is in a Graham McNeil short story, you hear this, he's waiting for me. And like Fulgrim slithers out of the ground.
Oh, great.
And basically the dreadnought, Rylanor, is sat on top of a virus bomb.
Excellent.
And waits for Fulgrim to arrive.
Excellent.
And blows himself up again. And virus
Brilliant.
bombs the entire planet again and kills Fulgrim. But
Brilliant.
Shit.
it's Fulgrim, so he just comes back to life.
He comes back.
So the first person to kill like demon Fulgrim, according to that story, is Rylanor, this dreadnought that's been waiting to get his own back on Fulgrim. And the writing in the story is like,
oh, that's so good.
you haven't
Oh,
managed
nice.
to kill him, but you've made him realize he's fallible, and to Fulgrim that's more important than death.
That's
Ah,
but that's
bit of
the
payback
thing.
for Ryland.
That's the thing I remember from those first few books of the horusheresy was I always enjoyed reading about, as we said earlier, the connection with Terra and how they were different to the later Space Marines. But the early dreadnoughts were always really interesting, how they they were ancient, even in a young legion. And I found that quite interesting. But yeah, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
I like imagining a dreadnought that, as we know, is a very stumpy square model under a bunker, constructing somehow with its claw-like arms and las cannon.
One of its hands is a gun.
Yeah.
It's like-
I guess you need thousands of years to build a sonic weapon, like very slowly inching the parts together year by year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the growth rate of a
Just
of
got a bunch of
tree
cow
trunk.
hoofs down there that it can melt
Yeah.
down for glue, like smelting gun,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, it's trying to like
Taking me
smelt stuff
5,000
with
years.
It's trying to smelt thick wires together with this multi-melter it's got. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine soldering with a multi?
Oh my god,
Exactly,
you're soldering like a computer keyboard with a
You wouldn't want to
multi-melter.
overcharge it, would you? Yeah, so I thought that was a cool thing that I didn't know. I didn't know that happened. It's like a short story separate from like the sequence of events. I only saw research.
Yeah.
What-
Maybe the beacon was the size of like a football field. He was living in like a cave, and in which case the multi-melter might actually be quite good as a soldering gun.
Yeah. For him, it's like precision engineering, but actually, it's just. But what's happened to Istvaan 3 now? 40k. We're in the 41st
That's a
millennium.
lovely place. You can
What's
go on
the
holiday
Istvaan
there.
system?
There's pedalos, ice creams
Really?
everywhere.
Ah, it sounds idyllic.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound true.
I don't know. Right, so have we covered everything? I think so.
Yeah.
A lot happens in this Fan 3. It's the fulcrum of the whole thing.
Why is the Eisenstein called the Eisenstein?
Well, this I did try and look up, and I couldn't find an answer.
Is it
There's lots of
after-
people called Eisenstein.
Yeah. Is it after
yeah.
the scientist?
No, it doesn't seem to be. Well, there was a sign. You're thinking of Einstein, or are
yeah,
you thinking
but-
of Eisenstein?
No, there is a nice.
No, I am thinking of I'm thinking of Eisenstein, but a lot of things in 40k, they twist the names to symbolize loss of language and memory through the and I wondered whether that was the case, but I seem to remember that there was something it was named after, but obviously not. So
I did
Yeah, I
have a
tried to
Google.
look. I did try to look that up as well, because I vaguely remember that being a thing that came up as well in the past, but I couldn't find anything.
I swear that had come up. But you're so you're reading the book anyway, so you'd have picked that up anyway. So we don't need to worry about missing that.
If only we could talk to the author of Flight of the Eisenstein.
Christ, we could probably ask him that question.
Yeah.
That would be a good question to ask.
You're living in a dream world, guys. It'll never happen. Anyway, I think that we've just about covered the Istvaan free massacre here. If you've got any further questions or anything, let us know. But yeah, that was it. Nasty time. Horus showed his hand. The beginning of the rebellion. Brother on brother.
Bit of a bell end.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this part of the show, the most exciting part of the show, the random topic generator, where we take the company dice and roll it and use it to decide.
Of rolling the company dice.
Roll them, Welshie, roll them.
It is. Which Primarch smells the best?
Okay, so random topic question for today, as decided by the company dice, is which Primarch smells the best? So, I mean, we've definitely got a couple of stinkers in there, a couple of ones that I wouldn't pick. Obviously, Mortarion, Lord of the Stink, is out straight away.
Kurz is out 100%.
Kurz, covered in flesh, can't be great. I've got to think.
I don't know.
Perturabo.
You think Kurz would smell? Sorry, Stoney. I've got to pull Matt up on this. Disagreeing. Are you disagreeing that Kurz would? You're saying Kurz would not smell bad?
I'm saying I disagree with your assumption there.
What, that Perturabo is going to smell bad?
But I'm. Don't worry, you carry on. I'm coming out with my argument.
I'm saying
coming
that
out with my
Perturabo.
argument.
I'm saying Perturabo probably smells like old engine oil and diesel. Who else have we got?
Fred Digner fans love that.
Everybody else probably smells a bit like smoke because they're carrying around some fire or incense. Some of them have incense, to be fair. I mean, Fulgrim's got to smell kind of good, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he probably smells amazing.
I think Fulgrim would be, for me, he'd be a little bit too perfumed. I think when someone walks by and you're a bit choking on it,
like an airport.
Yeah,
I think Fulgrim probably smells good at the start of the day. By the end of the day, he's been fucking all day. Probably smells like pussy and ass. Like you don't want to get near him then.
Didn't he have loads of wives, Fulgrim, as well? He's been
married like 13 times or something like that. So he's paying a lot of divorce alimony. He's a bit sad.
What about like a manly musk of? I think there'd be too much musk on Russ. But what about the lion? I feel like the lion might have quite a.
I think the lion lives a very medieval lifestyle. So I reckon he might just smell like fire and mead and I don't know if I'd want to smell the lion. I think what about maybe potentially Sanguinius? Because I reckon he could be like coated in oils.
I think you're right. Sanguinius would be oiled at all times.
I think Sanguinius smells like when you go into Lush. He's like a bath, he smells like many oils and soaps, almond-based creams and lotions. That's what I reckon.
I've got two to put forward then, seeing as we should cover almost all of them.
And he's got good hair, so he probably smells like shampoo as well.
Like a L'Oreal advert.
Yeah. Although saying that, Magnus has got the most hair, so he might smell the most like shampoo.
He was going to go. He's probably been burning some nice incense, some pretty potions. His planet is super clean. It's like Switzerland, right? It's all glass and shiny. And...
but hang on. This might be an ancient memory. It might be wrong, but I believe that the planet of sorcerers smells of sulfur.
Oh,
I might be,
you're
because,
probably right.
It's a demon planet kind of thing.
Okay,
so I might be wrong.
Then my final...
in which case, he's got that big hairdo just going around catching that fart smell. He probably reeks now. It's gross.
I think your Dibner point with Perturabo was quite on there. I think he'd smell like a kind of dirty crude oil steam engine. Whereas two of my favourite smells, WD-40 and Swarfita.
Oh, no!
I think Ferrus Manus's hands might smell like a combination of
Do you like
Swarfiga
WD-40?
and WD-40. Yeah.
I
That's
reckon
one of my worst smells.
I think
That makes
Ferrus
me
Manus
sick.
smells. I think Ferrus Manus smells like a bag of pennies. That boy,
Oh,
that
probably.
weird metal on his arms. Like, I mean, to be fair, he probably. You're right. Maybe it is Maybe his arms are made of WD-40 or something like that.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Maybe new car smell. I think from
Yeah.
Ferrus Manus because it's
Oh,
all very
that'd be
new,
amazing.
new technology. You know.
I'll tell you who's going to definitely smell of Old Spice. That's Rogel Dawn. He's an Old Spice man, if ever I've heard
reckon?
one. Yeah.
I think he's more traditional than that.
Do you
Maybe.
think?
The car
Yeah,
would be
I mean,
like
Old Spice pretty
poo,
traditional
horse
nowadays.
poo.
Like the kind of polo in that green bottle, like a kind of traditional
Oof.
aftershave.
A brute. Something like that. Vulcan, obviously, he comes from like a lava planet, so he's probably going to smell like
barbecue.
A
It
volcano.
might smell like barbecue.
Barbecue.
or maybe like I think maybe more like minerals and like
We know what?
tarmac or something like
Yes,
you know
tarmac.
like tarmac after it rains because he's all like been standing in the gust of some magma.
Gilliman, I can
Oh,
imagine.
he smells like
he's
a
very
vanilla ice
boring,
cream.
but he'd probably
Vanilla
smell
ice
great.
cream.
Yeah.
Maybe
He
does.
spends.
Yeah.
I think he spends a lot of time in a bath. He likes the kind of Roman
Oh,
feel.
bathhouse.
Yeah,
Roman
yeah.
bathhouse.
Yeah,
If he doesn't get
Yeah,
his
but he's
Radox
eating a
bath at 8
vanilla. He's
o'clock.
eating a vanilla ice cream in the bathhouse, so
I
it
think
just
that's it.
smells
yeah,
like.
yeah,
I
yeah. He's
think
got his
for
Magnum.
once,
He has his bath and then he eats a Magnum and then he gets
Yeah.
out and he watches Morse.
I think for once
Yeah.
Gilliman might have just won something on this program, guys.
No,
Yeah,
no,
he smells
no.
like Glade
no one.
plugins.
Yeah, no one's gonna smell better than Gilliman. He's got 4 baths a day
No,
and he
I-
eats ice cream.
I still reckon that Sanguinius is going to be the best smelling primer. I think he's being rubbed in lotions and oils. And
Yeah,
fucking,
Sanguinius has got
and
Sanguinius
he's
has got to
an
take it.
incense.
He's an angel.
I reckon all the blood
But
angels.
that's
are
the
carried
same
around in
argument
his-
you made against Fulgrim. He's being rubbed in lotions and oils all day.
Yeah, but those
but
but those
Fulgrim is a
lotions are
prick.
cum and poo poo.
Yeah, Fulgrim's.
Oh, I could agree on Sanguinius.
All right, well there we have it. It took longer than maybe it should have, but we got there eventually.
We've got a lot of
Donated
mileage out of
the
that.
show to which Primarch smells the best, and we did it. Sanguinius, you're welcome. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to this, the last part of the show, the Laws of Law quiz, where I pit Matt and Welshie against each other to discover who is the Lord of Law. And this week's quiz is slang. Imperial Guardsman slang in the future. So I'm going to give you a Imperial Guard slang word, and I want you to tell me what you think it means. All right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
What do you think a baby ogrin is a slang term for?
squat, rattling.
Rattling from Matt there. Matt saying a rattling.
a big poo, like a large dump. I've just
An
laid down a
unflushable
baby
dump.
ogrin. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm afraid I can't give either of you a point for that one because it is, in fact, a Catachan jungle fighter.
Oh, cool.
A baby
Oh,
ogrin.
yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, what is a bat? What do the Imperial Navy call a bat?
Gosh, shit. A fighter aircraft, an interceptor, an inter.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
Dark
it is.
Eldar fighter.
I'm pretty sure it is a fighter aircraft. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that is right.
Fighter.
Okay. So, what are you saying, Matt? You said a lot of
Uh,
things there.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I know.
fighter
I'm saying a
aircraft.
fighter aircraft. Yeah.
Okay, well, you both get a point for that then, because you're both right. It is a bat is a fighter aircraft. Okay, so what do the Imperial Guard know as a cogboy?
What?
What is
Tech
a
priest.
cogboy?
Tech priest.
Oh,
Tech
that.
priest
uh,
from Welshie.
I'm gonna say a tech engine steer.
A tech what?
That's obviously not the answer, but the in the Imperial Guard they don't normally have tech priests because tech priests are too valuable. They have a
Mhm.
what's called a tech engine seer, which is
Oh,
like an
okay. Oh, an
engineer,
engine seer.
Baby
okay.
tech
engine
priest, yeah.
seer,
Sorry.
like a baby tech priest. But maybe I
Okay.
won't say that because I don't know if that's that's not the answer. I'll say it anyway.
Okay. Well, Welshie, you're right. It is a slightly derogative term for a tech priest.
Nice.
Okay, what is gack? What would gack be?
Oh, I know this one.
Dick.
Okay.
Gack. Well, it's like I don't actually know what its direct transfer is, but it's a swear word.
Is it not fuck?
It's Vergastian for like gack it, fuck it, shit it all.
Yeah,
It's
fuck.
Vergastite swearing that's introduced to the Gaunt ghosts when
Ooh,
after
okay.
the fall of Vergast, I believe.
Okay. Matt, are you in agreement on that? You think you said it was fuck earlier?
Well, I said it was fuck before Welshie said that, but judging by your response, I don't know if it's true. But what did I say before I said fuck? I said sick.
You did say sick, yeah.
So it's sick
Okay.
or fuck.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you both a point for that because, I mean, it's just a general swear word. I had it down as shit. Like some examples of it are gack head, stupid gack, you got to be gacking me, eat gack and die, these rations are gack. So I thought like shit, but I also thought fuck could work, or whatever it was Matt said. So I reckon both of you get a point there.
It's really cool.
Okay.
One of the cool things in the Gaunt's ghosts that they all the Gaunt's ghosts, they use feth for swearing. They say fethin, and then they rescue the Vergastians, and then
And it
over
changes.
time the ghosts
Yeah.
start saying gack as well. Like they pick up each other's swear words.
That's cool. Yeah. Gribblies. What are gribblies? And this is a piece of slang specific to the Van Halen Ice Warriors.
I think they are Tyranids.
God, I should know this, but I don't. I don't think they fought the Tyranids. Like your nerves. You're feeling nervous, sick nervous. That's what I'll go with.
Sick
Battle
and nervous.
Battle nerves.
Okay. All right, Matt, I'm going to give you a point on that one. Sick nervous. So, a hangman or a leash. What is
Commissar.
Ooh, Matt, straight in there with commissar.
I thought I'd answer one first.
Welshie, so what do you think? Hangman or a leash?
The strap on a las gun.
Oh, well, Matt, you are correct. It is a commissar.
Why do they call them a leash? That's weird.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, they do. They keep
Oh.
them in check, don't they? Even if they don't shoot people,
suppose.
they fear the fear of.
Kept on a short leash.
Yeah.
What is a clom?
Fuck.
Yeah,
I reckon it's a bayonet.
bayonet from that.
A kilometre.
It is a kilometre. It is a kilometre. Welshie.
Yeah,
Coming back in there. 4 apiece.
perfect. Unbelievable how close this always is.
I know. Can you believe it? Let's hope the last question isn't worth a ridiculous amount of points. Okay. So what's a plank? What would be Imperial Guard term for a plank?
A psyker.
Okay. Is that you thinking of psychomat? Okay.
Yeah.
I would say like a gurney, like for carrying people on,
Yeah.
like a
That's
hospital.
what it is.
Like
Yeah.
when people are injured.
I'm afraid I can't give either of you a point for that
Ah.
one. I'm afraid a plank is a idiot or an ogrin. What about a salvar? What do you think a salvar is?
Oh shit! I know what this
An
is.
SAVLAR. Salvar.
Oh my God.
Savlar. Is there V before the L?
An SAVLAR.
I know what this is.
Savlar.
It's shit! I know what this is.
Some kind of ointment or cream, like Savlon.
I was going to say a
Like
med kit.
Savlon.
Yeah.
I was going to say a med kit.
Would you like me to give you a clue?
Yeah.
Okay. This term comes from the Savlar Chemdog regiment.
It's a rebreather, like a drugs rebreather.
I'm afraid I can't give either of you a point for that one. It is a thief or a drug addict.
Oh yeah.
Because the Savlar Chemdogs are notorious thieves and drug addicts. So this is the last question. Coming into this, you're both on 4 points apiece, and this question is worth 65 points.
Oh,
So, what is a twist?
that's a psyker.
A psyker from
Yeah.
Rosie.
My first instinct was a psyker as well.
So you're both saying psychers. Okay, well, I'm afraid you're both wrong. A twist is a mutant, a mutated person.
Oh,
So basically,
I'm
a
afraid-
could be
psycho.
a psycho.
It should be a psyker, in which case I'm going to give you both a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A draw with you both on 5 points. Well, 5. I'm just going to add 65.
67,
Hang on, I'm
70
just going to add it all
points.
together. That's a lot of points. I've got to run it
69.
through large
For
blast
69
computer
points
at some
each.
stage.
Yeah.
But either way, thank you guys
269s.
very much for listening, and we'll speak to you next time. I've been Stoney. Say goodbye, Matt and Welshie.
Bye.
Goodbye. Special episode coming soon.